This is what I'm going to assume about you based on what you say your favorite artist is. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean if you like this artist that you're like this, but if this is your absolute favorite, then it's probably you. There's a good chance that at some point you made a public social media post about how sad you are, maybe with a selfie. You give girl laying on the street in the rain fully clothed on Tumblr vibes. You gatekeep this band despite them being the literal face of metal music. They were in Fortnite, for fuck's sake. You are ready at any moment's notice to explain why you're not misogynistic, all while reinforcing that you're misogynistic. You're either just now entering your alternative rock phase, or you long for the old days when Green Day could still get confused for punk rock. You're either extremely annoying or the coolest person in the world. Regardless, you're probably a good person. You likely own or have owned a pair of Jinko jeans. You think you feel more deeply than other people. You probably enjoy seeing the look on people's faces when you introduce them to this band, despite them being rather popular. You mock people who wear Dark Side merchandise and talk about how it's not even their best album, despite you knowing deep down how good it actually is. You date exactly the kind of guys that you claim to hate so much. You have a weird obsession with England and constantly remind people that they're the best band of all time. You can't shut up about how influential they were and constantly remind people that they're the best band of all time. You always have to let everyone know that Pet Sounds is better than Sgt. Pepper's, and you constantly remind people that they're the best band of all time. You always explain to people that the music you like is intentionally bad. You've experimented with way too many drugs. At any concert other than a Dead concert, you think you're bringing the vibe up, but you're really just making everyone around you really uncomfortable. You have to make sure that people know that you liked them before they became the poster child of indie music. Also, you're never beating the Fantano Core allegations. You're just a silly little guy. You probably started smoking cigarettes as a fashion statement. You always make a point to separate the art from the artist. You are literally just living your best life. You base your wardrobe on Kurt Cobain. Get your own style, poser. You're 40-something years old and you wear your t-shirts tucked in. You were probably into theater at some point and you peaked during early 2010s internet culture. Look, Queen is a great band, but if they're your favorite band, honestly my first impression is that you only listen to classic rock basics. At parties, you're probably internally thinking about your current situation and disassociate yourself, assuming you even go to any. You never got over the 2000s. You were also definitely into theater at some point, and probably think that Inside was some sort of messianic manifesto of depressive isolationism. You like to call yourself an elder emo for listening to emo music in 2010 despite it being the norm at the time and existing nearly 30 years prior. No, I don't want to read your fanfiction. Moving on. If someone bumped into you and didn't say sorry, you'd write about it in your makeup-stained diary. You have a superiority complex for preferring them to the Smiths, but there's a strong possibility that you consider yourself goth despite not even listening to actual goth bands. People would fall over and die if they had to spend a day in your dark, twisted mind. Nah, I'm just kidding, you're probably pretty chill. You have to let everyone know how edgy you are, and you deserve the bullying that you get for it. You're a pretty wacky fella, but you have good taste. You've dyed your hair an exotic color at some point. Your living quarters is probably covered with 70s paraphernalia. You're sassy. Lots of sass coming from this guy over here. You're living in the moment, and I respect that. You are the most insufferable person to talk to about music, and you think that Eminem is the greatest rapper to ever live despite only releasing 3 critically acclaimed albums at the start of his career, and when asked what your other favorite rappers are, you'll probably say the most conventional, safe answers possible like Biggie, Tupac, and Nas, despite barely listening to them. You think that you're a part of the counterculture because you were around to listen to them in their prime, despite them arguably being the downfall of punk music. You let corporations take advantage of you. You assume that anyone who doesn't believe that Thriller is one of the top 3 albums ever made doesn't listen to Michael Jackson. Oh, you poor, innocent soul. You've probably watched the movie Frank at some point in your life. You're a 30-something-year-old mom with young children, probably in some sort of educational position. You also listen to music months after it hits the charts. You spend your time actively trying to scare people, but instead of it looking cool like you think it does, it just makes you look like a total loser freak. You're cool, but you smell bad. You've had long hair at some point in your life, if not currently. Your wardrobe is 50% tie-dye and your living quarter smells like incense and weed. Instant way to tell who wasn't cool in the 70s. I don't care how much money you spent on your drum set. Despite the name, you're definitely not a joyful person. You watch a lot of shitty anime. You are incapable of being convinced that there's a better guitarist. You feel the world around you very strongly, from life to love and to music. I want to be friends with you, potentially lovers even. You actually probably do feel more deeply than other people. College-age Gen Z who listens to whatever pops up on their main Spotify feed. I can smell what your playlist looks like from a mile away. You are the hoi polloi of music bros. The sample size for this is too broad. You could be any number of things, but there's one thing that you aren't, and that's special. You are absolutely, undeniably one of those real music is dead kind of people. You are the most coolest and the most hottest person in the entire world.